A very good afternoon to you and welcome to this edition of the People Vs Chebukati. It is Thursday, the first day of September 2022, 23 days after the 9th of August general elections. And this is the second day of the hearing proper, and the respondents via their lawyers actually have been responding. And right now as we speak, the court actually is having a lunch break or a health break, and by 2 o'clock they'll be reconvening. And I'm joined in studio by lady and gentleman, Mheshimiwa Irene Mayaka from Nyamira County, and Mohamed Nyamwanda, who is a media practitioner. Mheshimiwa and Nyamwanda, there is an issue that is refusing to go away. Server. Has the server been opened as ordered by the Supreme Court? What was the order? Because there have been back and forth between the lawyers, the IBC lawyers arguing that they needed clarification as to what the order was. And Philip Murgor, one of the lawyers appearing for the petitioners, indicating that they have not been given the access that the court asked IBC to do. So perhaps, Nyamwanda, you can bring us up to speed. What were the orders of the court? And even as it does that, our hashtag today is Open the Server.
Before we proceed, maybe it's prudent to give a little background to what a server is. A server is almost like a living organism. It records everything that happens to it from the moment it was created or manufactured. It will tell you everything that has happened every day. You can't delete anything. There's like a solid digital trail, like a digital paper trail that stays constant. The reason the server should be opened is the server will tell us, for example, from Buruburu Primary School, polling station 1 of 2, the first Form 34A was uploaded at maybe 11 p.m. on that election day. Perhaps, and there's a strong feeling, the server could also tell you that subsequent to that, another different form was uploaded at maybe 6 a.m. the following day. But all this information, everything, remains in the server. That's what we call them logs. So you can track everything. An application was made for the server to be opened. The Supreme Court issued orders for the server.
What were the orders?
The order was the IBC shall provide to the applicants copies of its, the IPC, the order summary. I have here in front of me the order
summary. Not every single bit.
The IBC shall provide copies of its technology system security policy, comprising but not limited to password policy, password matrix, owners of system admin passwords, system users and level of access, workflow charts for identification, tallying, transmission and posting of portals and any APIs that had been integrated, and the list of human interface and controls for such intervention, subject, however, to security-related issues thereof. The IBC was that the IBC be compelled to give the applicants supervised access to any server at the National Tallying Center for storing and transmitting voting information, and which are forensically imaged to capture a copy of the Form 34C, which is the total votes cast. Basically, to show, not just show the public, Mkuru Kwayaba or Mkuru Kwanjenga Primary School. And all these, or Awendo or Mombasa Mvita, all the sum total, this is how the math has been done. These are the totals for candidate A, these are the totals for candidate B and C and D, etc. And this information is there. If access were granted today, we would be able to see everything paruanja.
So has it been granted, yes or no?
They have granted access to only one server, and even that, just an overview. But even from that overview, Wakili Philip Murgo said, already in that sneak peek, they found a lot of deletions. There has been a lot of deletions and alterations. So everything is suspect. So the court ordered on the server was supposed at 1 is when this process kicked off. And even then, it's just a lot of runaround, a lot of excuses, and sadly, the commission even goes on their Twitter very mischievously and posts on the official social media pages that they have opened the server. They have not opened the server up till this moment. We believe the truth. Actually, it's not a matter of belief. It is a fact. The truth is in the server. That is why maybe some quarters are hesitant to. However, this morning, Smartmatic has done a letter. I think that someone is playing smart.
Let's go slowly. Who is Smartmatic?
That's the owners of the infrastructure. It's a company that was contracted by the IBC. Yes.
So, from a layman's perspective, because there seem to be many layers, you are IBC.
Yeah.
There is infrastructure, but you don't own it. How is that?
That is also an anomaly that it has to be. This is one of those many wrongs that will have to be righted. There is no way the system that runs an election in Kenya can be quote unquote copyrighted or owned by a foreign company. And the IBC is paying for this system. It's not a donation of any sort. So how do you buy something, then it's still not yours?
Yeah, because, Mahesh, what Nyamwanda is alluding to is that even if IBC themselves wanted to access their own server for their own purposes, forget about the Supreme Court orders or contestation of results, then they still have to go to another party for them to access their own information.
Baggy, what IBC is doing reminds me of this thing that we've always been told, that the waters of Lake Victoria belong to Egypt. So the part of Lake Victoria that is in Kenya, as Kenyans, we cannot divert the waters.
We can't use it for
you can't use it for anything else. So in essence, what IBC is doing and saying is sort of a premonition that they knew, based on what happened in 2017, that someone is going to demand for the server to be available. And so they have given the rights of this copyright to a different company. And I'd actually like someone to question and ask, can we see the contract between IBC and this other company to know the details of what is in it? Because it means IBC then is the one that told this company, or they agreed to sign that they have the copyrights, so they cannot be able to access. But then again, a Supreme Court, based on the Constitution, has the highest attendance in this country to give direct instructions for this to happen, which they already did. So IBC, like Nyamwanda said, is already playing mischief, because yesterday on Twitter and on Facebook, on their accredited pages, they say they have opened the servers. But today in court, we are told they have not even opened the server. And this brings back to the question of, so where are these untallied votes? The 140,138 votes that bring to question of whether or not there is any candidate that even achieved the 50+1. Yeah? And this is a very pertinent question. And IBC, by doing that, they're already throwing this country in a very, very sensitive place. And it's actually a deja vu to what happened in 2017, because the same thing happened. They refused to open the server. And if you look at the final ruling by the Supreme Court, it was based on that. One of the factors that was based to annul this election was the fact that there was no access to the server. So are we facing the same situation already?
If I may ask, so according to that letter, what does that letter say in general? This now third party that is also managing or owns the infrastructure, as you have put it.
It's very cleverly engineered, in my view. That's just my personal opinion. It's a letter from Smartmatic to IEBC. It's addressed to the CEO, Marjan Hussein Marjan. It's dated here, Amsterdam, 31st, yesterday. I think maybe when push came to shove, they had to find a way out. It says, subject, provision of image of the National Tallying Center servers that host the Form 34C, serial number 1. Dear sirs, as per your request regarding the provision of the image of the NTC, National Tallying Center servers, we would like to clarify that such images contain software owned and copyrighted by Smartmatic and is thus IP protected. providing full access would infringe our IP rights. Then it goes on to say a lot of other stuff, but that's the main thing. Is basically they said, now I think the IBC might come to claim that we wanted to open the server, the owner of the system has refused to open it. However, an image is a snapshot of a server and its associated software. It has nothing to do with the source codes. They can talk about so just taking the image of the server and its associated software won't show any source codes. There is no infringement. A software application is also packaged away from the source code. And certificates and transmission keys is, however, it can be a concern. However, maybe they could. Basically, they're just, it's marks of mischief. I can already tell, most likely, inshallah, this election will be annulled. There's a precedence. One of the major reasons why the 2017 election was annulled was because they refused to open the server. I think maybe someone has decided, which actually even reinforces the belief and fact that the true result is still in the server, it is still intact, it's still traceable if you go through what has been added, what has been deleted, what has been changed.
Yeah. Well, you're watching the people, just hold the thought, Mheshimiwa Kidogo, the People Vs Chebukati, and let me just go through some of the comments coming through. Our hashtag is open the servers. Justin Kagoni from Limuru, asante for watching, is saying open the servers. There is someone here called Lagat who is telling Mheshimiwa Irene Chota Maji ya Lake Victoria ufungue nayo server. Well, we encourage contribution, but of course we have to mind our language. Grace is saying we have to open the servers. Well, thank you for your contribution. Lots and lots and lots of them. And this issue, as it continues to, like you rightly say, it's very sensitive. It's very, very, very sensitive. Why would IBC find it so difficult just to open a server? You know, right now, in the mind of an ordinary Kenyan, a server is a huge thing with multiple locks. I mean, yeah. I may not be very tech savvy. I don't even know how big or large a server would look like. But why would it be such a difficult thing just to open a server?
Actually, if I was IBC, because they have spent their time in court, they've brought documentation, they've brought their legal team to prove that they delivered an election that was free and fair. If I was them, I'd then simply just open it to confirm this. Yeah, but just back to this company, and when you search and try to do your research on information about this company and elections that they have been part of previously. One glaring example is the Philippine election, where the Parliamentary Commission of Philippines actually discovered that there were in excess of 1 million votes unaccounted for in the server. An election that was still being provided for the infrastructure of the system by this same company. Uganda, same issue with this same company. So already, even for IBC, when they were procuring and contracting this company, and they saw that there were already these issues with it, didn't that raise issues or concerns for them?
Mheshimiwa, this brings another issue to the fore. Where is oversight? Because IBC is a public body. They don't just wake up and procure and decide so-and-so is going to do this for us. Yeah. There is a way it has to be brought to the public knowledge. Where were the people who were supposed to have oversight? Nyinyi, waheshimiwa wabunge, maseneta. I mean,
yeah, but Baggy,
is it unilateral?
But Baggy, still back on the question of did they even want this to be checked out? When was the KPMG audit report availed for scrutiny? It happened when Parliament had already been closed, signed dying, until we wait for the election to happen.
Because
so
sadly,
what time would this have been even scrutinized if the KPMG report itself was provided for public consumption late, 4 days to an election.
Because sadly, you know, this, we are talking about public funds, because these services are not for free.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
And to add insult to injury, if Venezuelans can access the server, how about Kenyans, the representatives of Kenyans? This is a system paid for by Kenyan taxpayers' money. A stray Venezuelan can access, but a Kenyan
And
cannot.
this is what I'm asking.
It doesn't make, it baffles me.
Everywhere, there are checks and balances.
Yeah.
Terms and conditions apply. Even if you're just requesting an Uber, there are terms and conditions. They tell you have to make sure the car registration matches what is in your app. But in this case, what you're describing is like an institution that is above everybody. Is above Bunge, just does its things the way they want, only for Kenyans to realize later atrocious things. It's dumbfounding to imagine as a Kenyan that my electoral commission that is deciding who governs me tomorrow and my future also relies on other people with questionable backgrounds, even to store information.
I mean, this is an election commission that the chair of IBC decides to face Kenyans alone without the other commissioners to announce the final results. Yet, when they were announcing some of the few constituencies that they decided to announce to us, they were always together. But the final results, the guy comes alone, even before giving us the final results of the last 33 constituencies.
Very well. Let's go to another issue that perhaps also tied to the server, numbers. And there has been all sorts of arguments, statisticians brought on board.
Yeah.
Well, the simple numbers we know is that 1 + 1 adds up to 2.
And the truth is in the server.
Yes.
Numbers are in the server.
So let me draw your attention to Omkia Omtata's petition yesterday. First of all, he says 23 hours later, Kim's kits were still showing activity, meaning 23 hours after the close of polls, the Kim's kits indicated that voting was still going on. And he also did mention that about 500,000 voters could not be accounted for or attached to an ID, meaning that they are in the register, but you can't say who they are, whether they are Irene, whether they are so-and-so. What's your take on that, Mheshimiwa?
So my take on that is this. First of all, let me start with the number of voters that voted. Okio gives us a total number of about 1.6 million. Yeah. Up to date, IBC has not been able to demonstrate of this 1.6 million, which polling stations were this, where was this, and why did it happen. Secondly, when you look at the numbers that IBC gave us, the final tally of 100.01, even if they want to argue the 0.1%,
yes,
that total tally does not show us where the 113,000 rejected votes are as part of that calculation. Then when you go back to the total number of registered voters vis-a-vis the number that is given by IBC, there's also a discrepancy. Yeah, so a total discrepancy of about 140,138 votes untallied. By untallied, it means it has not been allocated to any presidential candidate. It has not been indicated as rejected. It's just hanging somewhere.
And while you are at it, there's a new term that I've come across today, a stray ballot. What will that mean?
I don't know if that a stray ballot is one that is hanging on here and it's hanging somewhere on top of a swimming pool. Or I don't know. I don't know what exactly that means. It throws a lot of...
It's like a vote that exists, but it's not tied to any record.
To any,
it's not tied
records,
to any name, not any ID. Who knows who? It could be a bot. It could be a...
Given. So back to my concern on these untallied votes and why it is a concern is because, and we are told, for the Supreme Court to overturn an election, the number and the evidence brought before them has to be significant enough to overturn the final outcome. This 140,138, forget about everything else, already is an indication that nobody of the 4 presidential candidates did attain the 50 + 1%, which means ideally the result, if any, that we should have had from IBC having, as they say, conducted a free and fair election should have been that on round 1, we had no outright winner. That should have been the result that we got. So whenever you hear the IBC legal team keep saying, which numbers, I wonder for myself, by the time you're going to legal school, you must have known some basic mathematics. Enough for you to tell us, if you're saying the numbers are correct, then what are the numbers you're giving us? None of them has been able to demonstrate that.
Well, you're watching the People Vs Chebukati. We are delving into the issues of numbers, and I know both of you are linguistically endowed in both languages, the general language and the national language. Let's switch gears a bit. Mtazamaji, asante kwa kujiunga nasi katika swala zima hili ambalo limezua utata mkubwa. Nyamonda, tarakimu au nambari ya wale waliopiga kura. Kuna wakili wanasema
ni machache
na mambo ni mengi. Idadi ya waliopiga kura maana ina utata, na idadi ya nambari iliyojumuishwa asilimia yake. Kuna wakili mmoja anasema kwamba mawakili wanaowakilisha kesi hii wamefanya asilimia kwa ujumla ambao haufai.
No.
Na wao wenyewe kama tume ilifanya asilimia kwa ujumla ya nambari tofauti. Sasa kuna utata. Wakenya wangapi walipiga kura? Na hii jumla inasemekana ya asilimia 50 ukiongezea na 1 ni asilimia 50 ya nini?
Hapo kuna swala nzito na ndio tena tutarejelea, ndio maana tunasema open day. 7 ikifunguliwa kila kitu itakuwa bayana. Watu wangapi haswa walipiga kura. Hii ilikuwa tu ni kama jana wakili moja aliposema piki ponki. Ilikuwa ni mchezo wa kamari kwa kifupi. Na ukiangalia vizuri vile matangazo ilikuwa inaendelea, walikuwa wanacheza na manamba, ili walikuwa najua lazima tufikishe kiwango fulani ndio mtu fulani awe na kura 50 na kura 1.
Naam.
Ndio hilo namba bado wanacheza nayo. Ndio unaona kama katika jana mahakamani ukiwa mtata anasema masaa 13 baada ya kura kufungwa bado kura zinazidi kuingia katika Kings. Hiyo ilikuwa ni ile ukarabati.
Naam.
Hii maswala ya ukarabati. Hesabu kwa IBC ni ukarabati. Hii ni ukarabati kwa nafanywa na ukora.
Na sasa swala ambalo linakuwa nzito zaidi, kama wewe ni Mkenya kwa mfano. Maana imesemekana kwamba hili ni swala rahisi. Ni swala la manambari. Una ngapi? Nina ngapi? Hapa tuna majaji, tuna mawakili, kumeletwa watu wenye tajiriba kubwa katika masuala ya hesabu, na hakuna mtu anaweza kukubaliana na mwingine kwamba tunazungumzia nambari gani. Sasa mimi kama mpiga kura inaniacha wapi?
Inakuacha lazima tukisonga mbele lazima tusisitize kabisa kwamba shughuli za kupiga kura ziwe wazi. Hata haya masuala ya tarakilishi, sava, haya yote yamekuja kwa sababu bunge ilikuwa inajaribu kufanya uchaguzi uwe wazi.
Naam.
Ndio sasa inasemekana transmission lazima ifanywe electronic. Lazima kuwe na server, tallying ifanywe na server. Na haya kupunguza ile human error ama willful negligence.
Ndio hiyo.
Lakini sasa kikamilifu server ikifunguliwa kila kitu kitakuwa bayana. Ndio naona kuna ile vuta ni kuvute. Mimi naona kama Mkenya lazima tutahakikisha songa mbele kwamba Wakenya ni watu wana akili sana. Hizi mitambo zote lazima zitakuwa ni zetu sasa. Kila kitu lazima itakuwa ni sisi tuwafanya, na lazima tujitegemee. Mwaka 2017 tuliambia jamaa kule Ufaransa bado wanalala, hawezi fungua sawa. Sijui kama wakumbuka hii. Leo hii mtu anatuandikia barua anasema la hasha, hatuwezi wafungulia sava, tutapeana siri zetu. Kwa hivyo lazima tuwe na mpango yetu ambao tunaendesha sisi wenyewe, na ikiwezekana iwe ni kama labda ikuwe ni department. Kuna nchi zingine election inafanywa na serikali na hakunanga utata.
Kuna mtu anauliza swali hapa.
Naam.
Kila siku Wakenya wanatuma mabilioni ya pesa kwa mtandao wa M-Pesa.
Naam.
Hakuna siku imesemekana kwamba 1,000 zako 2 zimepatikana kwa simu ya mheshimiwa hapa. Au 1,000 zake 5, na ni kila siku. Kwa nini mtandao wa M-Pesa hauna shida? Kwa nini tusichukue mtandao wa M-Pesa? Mtu anauliza, tupatie Safaricom watufanyie uchaguzi. Kwa sababu hakuna siku shilingi ya mtu imepotea. Wewe unasema kwa nini tume ya uchaguzi haiamini wa Kenya, na M-Pesa hii inafanywa na Wakenya na kuna hela zinapotea. Na hizi ni kura tu. Ukiangalia kura milioni ngapi? 14. Na tunazungumzia mabilioni kila siku, kila dakika, kila sekunde.
Hivi juzi nilikuwa nimekaa mahali, kuna mtu alikuwa anasema nafikiri Safaricom wenye wana simu za runinga katika mtandao wa Safaricom.
Simu za rununu.
Za rununu. Naam. Samahani. Naam. Wenye wamejisajilisha kule Safaricom ni kama Wakenya milioni 17 takriban.
Naam.
Wapigaji kura pia ya uchaguzi utaweza kufanya. Tena unaweza fanywa haraka sana. Labda katika masaa mawili tushajua nani ameshinda. Kila mtu anajaza code, nimekubali Rene, nimekataa Rene, nimekubali Bagi na kadhalika. Na inajumuishwa. Ni kitu inaweza fanyika. Kwa hivyo mimi kwa maoni yangu hii ni ukora ama ni ukarabati walifanya na yani walikuwa wakianza kazi walikuwa wanajua ni ipi watakaje, ni nini watataka kufanya, wakajua itafika mahali labda wataambiwa wafungue sava, ndio wakatafuta kijisababu. Imekuwa leo mahakama humu nchini yatoa agizo, fungueni sava, tuandikiwa barua kutoka Amsterdam. Hatuwezi, si sawa.
Thank you very much for those who've been with us all along, and if you're just joining us, this is the People Vs Chebukati coming to you live on Azimio TV, straight up from the Azimio TV Center here in Nairobi. Your closing remarks, and he's just alluded that fine, the Supreme Court has issued orders. It appears that there are many ifs, nots, buts. Where does that leave the authority of the Supreme Court? Even as you make your closing remarks.
This is what I'd like to say. Today morning, when Senior Counsel Murgo raised his concerns in terms of why the server has not been opened, one of the judges, that is Justice Lenaola, said that they are aware that there are issues and they are doing something about it. My prayer and my hope as a Kenyan who exercised her democratic right is that the judges know what they are doing, and when they give us that assurance that they are aware of this, is that they will ensure that if IBC haifungui server, then they will pay for the consequences of not doing this. On the other hand, for IBC, kama mko sure kabisa that ile kura wa Kenya walipiga, na katika sheria inasema ya kwamba ile result ambayo inasema kwa polling station ndio itakuwa final result. Kama mko sure zile results ambazo zilisema kwa polling station ndio final result, hakuna mtu yote ambaye alinterfere na kura hizi, basi patianeni hizi server zifunguliwe, Wakenya wajue ukweli. Ndio going forward, sisi kama Wakenya wapiga kura, wale ambao ni presidential candidates, kila mtu ndio nilishinda kwa sababu ilikuwa ni will ya watu wa Kenya, sio kwa sababu kuna watu wachache walikaa mahali wakaamua huyu ndio tunataka kama mshindi, huyu ndio tunaweka. Na ndio maana Willis jana alisema paka ina mielo, inapiga dance, inafanya piki point, because unless you prove us otherwise, this is what we believe that happened.
Asante mheshimiwa.
So my final remarks is IBC fungua server.
Very well. Nyamwanda, your final remarks?
I think an election is a regular occurrence. There's an election cycle in every country. In many places right across the world, when there's an election, even if you're in that country, you can't know. There's no tension. We have this commission has really done a disservice to the gains we have made in recent years to do with free and fair elections. They seem to come up with new ways of making you legislate this way, they make it opaque that way. My personal view is there are countries people vote, and by even 20, 30 million people vote by midnight. Polling stations close at 6. By midnight, it's clear. So-and-so has won, so-and-so hasn't. And Kenyans are very bright. A lot of technology Kenyans are making.
Do you think we can get there?
We will get there. However, I think that institution is so cancerous, is so toxic, that maybe eventually a new one will have to be created with a different culture. I think you change the commissioners, the staff are still there, cartels within, purportedly cartels, cliques and all this. One surefire way of doing it is like in some countries where they have wanted to reorganize arms of government, is totally disband it and set it up afresh and have no one who was there before. It might sound harsh, but serikali ni kubwa, hao watu wote wanaweza pewa kazi pale na pale na pale. Tume mpya ibuniwe, lakini kwa sasa ile inatushika roho, ile imeshika attention ya taifa ni hiyo server lazima ifunguliwe. Na wasipofungua inaonekana ni kama wote siku moja wataenda nyumbani. Lakini server lazima ifunguliwe, ukweli ujulikane, kutoka ule mama anakaa kule Turkana, Lodwa, ule anakaa Namanga, aridhike ndani ya roho, okay sawa. Huyu ndiye alishinda, huyu hakushinda.
Asante. Nafikiri ulikuwa unamaanisha aridhike moyoni. Maana moyo uko hapa, roho hatuioni, uko peponi.
Kiswahili si mdomo chetu.
Na mtazamaji, asante sana. Chambilecho wahenga, kilicho na mwanzo hakikosi mwisho. Basi hapa ndio tunatamatisha mgaragazano huu ambao tumekukupeperushia moja kwa moja kwa takriban dakika 40 zilizopita. Kutoka kwangu mie Morris Ochieng, sina la ziada. Hadi wakati mwingine panapo majaliwa yake Mwenyezi Mungu, alamsiki.
Sante. Santa.
Thank you. Mwesh.